and that what that better future is collectively as they seek to work together in partnership to leave no one behind. So Andrew Networks is, the link is in chat. So Andrew did also found the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists in September 2019, with a focus on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals. During this decade of action and delivery on the SDGs from 2020 to 2030, Andrew later appointed me as representative for Canada, La Francophonie, and the Commonwealth of Nations countries, originally on January 1st, 2020. I was later appointed as a representative for Turtle Island in early 2021. Again, to the ambassadors that we found in the chat. Before I get far, I wanted to tell about myself. My name is Lloyd Halfordy, the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energyme University, which is headquartered in New York City. I am, however, located in the city of Markham in the Greater Toronto area of Southern Ontario in Canada. Energyme University is a private 501(c)(3) nonprofit company in New York, a member of the UN Global Compact and a United Nations Academic Impact member and partner. Energyme University is a virtual university created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance with their local environments. Energyme does this by designing and implementing projects supporting a strong and diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into the communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth systems, along with systems for sustainably managing waste streams and protecting local water resources. So Energyme is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ. Energyme also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of all the various integrated solutions for achieving what's called closed-loop systems, circular economy systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. So I will into the chat my contact info. So I'm also the co-founder and administrator of the what we call We Energyme Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society organization that is seeking to undertake what's called life value peace education in the context of life learning gardens. So this is sort of a central point of many of our conversations. I was, as I said earlier, also designated as a Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation, which is in Los Angeles, with that portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities, as a member of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists, seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as helping local communities establish what we call interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives, or INAB collaboratives, INABCs, that will come together to pledge to support all of the local humanitarian entrepreneurs work localizing the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, while also seeking ways to leave no one behind. So I will, again, put information into the chat as we move forward. I'm also a co-founder of the Global Unity Business Group, which originally came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow our Global Unity Network, which now refers mostly as UnityNet. As a result, the original Global Unity Business Group, which I had been describing as a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens, along with a hybrid virtual learning platform we call the VCN, or the Interchange for Peace, is now being rebranded as UnityNet International, in alignment with our first continental chapter, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. So while the original Global Unity Business Group was created in order to formalize the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador process of global localization of global goals, starting with the SDGs, which is being done by the establishment of the Global Unity Network, which includes the Unity Gardens and the Unity Learning Network, along with so many other dedicated Unity networks, which are important components of our what we call network of networks. The latest way that I describe who we are is as a network of people and organizations supporting the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals, currently the SDGs, and the global transition to a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Essentially, we are creating a support network for all of our members, including the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who are helping to implement the local regenerative climate smart solutions that are required to achieve a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So it's important to note that the existing social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn groups we're using now are being used as a placeholder as we build the global network, prepare to launch, where we'll eventually get all of the people, companies, nodes of our network onto this Interchange for Peace, VCN, where they will then be able to gain access to the many tools and services that are available there, where they can much more easily collaborate in order to locally implement all of the globally coordinated real-world events, projects, enterprise, and of course, the infrastructure. So again, we have a link to the Global Unity Business Group, which will eventually be rebranded as UnityNet International, as you see the logo on this page, which again may be an interim logo as we evolve. So the Global Unity Network was also created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with those 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Our goal is to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind because the existing economic paradigm very much focused on making money for those who are already wealthy by extracting resources through the exploitation or over-exploitation of people and the natural world, and therefore the majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. So our focus is thus on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by helping local communities deliver the regenerative, local, climate smart enterprise solutions that people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies require in order to thrive. So the entry point, we are focused in particular on those communities that are the most food insecure. Again, Global Unity Network, social media has been put into the chat. So the Global Unity Network is promoting the delivery of a suite of practical solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the SDGs. During this period until 2030, we are focused on tools of humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing mostly on female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises, using a hybrid virtual and hands-on education and training and learning programs, platforms, and curricula, with a primary focus on delivery of the various humanitarian entrepreneurship skills training in these practical settings. So practicum learning, along with leveraging the various open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist local INAB collaborative teams to establish local collaborative open source Unity Garden classrooms in all the local communities around the world. So the Unity Garden classrooms are set up in collaboration with existing schools in local communities, can be used for the local and remote or virtual delivery of the practical learning programs for all of these FFHE members, as we call them, so they can learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional and medicinal and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their local communities as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, internationally, in order to produce income and therefore greater prosperity for themselves and for the people in their own local communities, for all people on all continents, with the intention, again, of leaving no one behind. So I like to put in here a group called UnityNet Smart Cities Network in the chat, so people are aware that we are not just focused on rural areas, we are focused also on cities, such as where we are here in the Toronto area, where I am anyway. We also promote through our virtual social marketing all of the members of the network. We use all the various practical social media, networking, and trade tools, including of the modern fourth industrial revolution, combining the wisdom of crowds with the deep Indigenous knowledge of both our ancestors and the living Indigenous people of this earth, in order to learn from each other about how to share the abundance of this planet in order to create productive, regenerative, climate-smart landscapes wherever we may live, in and around each and all of our local communities. Our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity, ensure abundance for all, and ultimately restore the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of this one and only beautiful planet. So Unity Biodiversity Network is the work there. So I wanted to mention the AHIABGA process of localization of the global goals, which is intended to help everyone in each of their own local communities to establish local teams of humanitarian entrepreneurs, as well as local community support network, the INABCs, that will provide support and ensure the success of the local cooperative humanitarian enterprises, starting with the Unity Gardens that will be home, that will start to be established in each local community across the global network. Most likely starting in Africa, but also here in North America and in Asia as well. So this process of establishing the local INABCs is done by taking part in what we call the Abraham Project Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies that we plan to do on World Environment Day, June 5th, where some communities will also establish twin trees of peace and reconciliation and twin Unity Gardens, and will be done through this, what we call the C2B program. Sorry about that. So the process is for twinning the local community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprises, and also twinning the local community INAB collaboratives. What we are building here is a global network of local INAB collaboratives, where all the members of each local INAB will be interconnected, watching over, talking to each other at the global level, where each local INAB collaborative will have a diverse set of members from the 7 different sectors of the community. So the public, private, civil society, academic, interfaith, finance, and orange economy, or the creative sector, will be watching, promoting, and helping each other, supporting the local entrepreneurs in each local community, who will be empowered by all of the members of the global network, where all activities are also intended to be transparent to all members of the global network, including all members of the local INABC, who will also be accountable to and for the success of the local collaborative Unity Garden humanitarian enterprises. So this means that if the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are living in the local community fail to be successful as they build and run their local collaborative or cooperative community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise, their business, provided they're fully dedicated to making it successful for all the members of the community, and especially for those who are most marginalized in each of their own local communities, it will not be entirely on their shoulders again, but rather such failure could also be partly blamed on the local community INAB collaborative members for not having lived up to their obligations to support and empower the local community humanitarian entrepreneurs who are building, operating, maintaining, and delivering all of the various community programs, events, interventions, goods and services that will be delivered in the context of their own local community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise. So I'm suggesting as well, every community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise should probably be established as a cooperative enterprise or business, where the idea is to set up the local community business co-op, so the burden of running the business is not entirely on the shoulders of any one single entrepreneur. Although different business models can be tried in order to determine what business models might actually work best. Again, in the chat, I do put up some information about cooperative enterprises. So the INABCs, INAB collaboratives, established at the local level, where we're leveraging our process of community engagement through the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation, tree planting ceremonies, followed by ongoing community engagement and interaction through the regularly scheduled events throughout the year, including the coordinated Bubble Fun festivals done in collaboration with the local INABC members, the CTP program for twinning community activities, such as community organized tree plantings, local regenerative public community infrastructure development projects, or events like the Tea Diplomacy Initiative I described earlier, the Dream Boards Initiative, done in collaboration with the C4 group members, identification of and engagement with local talent, artists and creative people in the Orange economy, for the purpose of promoting and showcasing their talent, but especially if they are promoting the localization of the global goals and the regenerative economy during any one of our periodic sunlight spectacle events or other what we call edutainment events. So we do have open doors for any other programs or activities that may be developed in the context of either the CSV Gardens or the Climate Smart Kitchens or the Wheel of Life Farms or the Spark Learning Centers. I did put this slide in for those who may not have seen it before. The local INAP collaboratives now being expanded to try to include more partners, potentially including Bridges of Hope organization from Kenya, focused on the training of the SFHEs in each various regenerative and climate smart business and infrastructure solutions, as well as potentially BIMA International, the Black Emergency Managers Association, which would help to bring together first responders such as police, firefighters, and paramedics from the local community in order to prepare the local entrepreneurs and enterprises and potentially position their businesses as hubs for taking action during emergencies or significant incidents that may happen in the community. Again, in the chat are some links for the UnityNet Greater Toronto area, which is being used here as an example. Wanted to mention again the Tea Diplomacy Initiative. I had suggested that we might wish to consider doing this event during the week of solidarity with the people struggling against racism and racial discrimination, which is 21st to 27th March. We did have that event on Monday, March 21st, the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which also happened to be World Poetry Day and the International Day of Forests. So we did open up that possibility, and we did a tea diplomacy event that included many conversations related to methods and processes of enabling and implementing solidarity with the people struggling against racism and racial discrimination, as well as discussing some of the local poets and poetry that have influenced local cultures in each respective community where participants in these virtual discussions might live, along with discussing the importance of establishing productive forests as 3D polyculture food forests established as Victory Forest Unity Gardens in all of our local communities, managed in partnership with local Indigenous peoples and all levels of government in every local community and country as an essential part of a process of practical reconciliation with all of the Indigenous peoples of the world, one country, one community, and one watershed at a time. I will now play for you again the poem that was played during our first tea diplomacy event. It's about 2.5 minutes long. I'm going to have to actually stop my share because I don't think I clicked sound. So I will share again. This time click share sound. So I want to play this poem for everyone. Oh, sorry. Jumping ahead.
Hello? Hello?
So apologies, everybody. Seems I probably jumped ahead by one screen on that. That was actually the music of Luvia M, a song called Thu Lan Lizio, that was played again during our tea diplomacy event. I will put in some of the translated lyrics for the song into the chat. The song was or is going to be our new theme song for the Tea Diplomacy Initiative. So we will play it as well as the poem, which I did not play at every one of our Tea Diplomacy events coming up. So again, in the chat is the lyrics for the song that you heard. So we did complete our very first Tea Diplomacy Initiative event on March 21st. Started at 8 a.m. my local time. We asked leaders and other high-level decision makers at that event to sit down virtually, have a cup of tea with some of our global Unity Network members at the grassroots who are living and doing work in the various marginalized communities around the world, where the conversations we asked our participants to discuss during those moderated virtual casual conversations between the sustainable development decision makers, professionals, and our grassroots members who are doing some of the on-the-ground work in the various local communities in the Global Unity Network were related to those three themes that I mentioned on the previous slide with regard to the methods, process of enabling and implementing solidarity with people struggling against racism and racial discrimination, local poets and poetry that have influenced the local cultures in each community, and the importance of establishing productive forests, especially as Unity Gardens in those local communities. So I'll just move forward today and just mention again the partners that took place in that initial Tea Diplomacy Initiative: Andrew Networks, World Humanitarian Organization for Peace and Equity, WOPE, Saga Foundation, Gemma Productions, We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island, Drawdown Markham, the Indigenous Global Unity Network, Carbon Shop Earth, the Unity Women's and Feminists Network, Tots and Kids South Africa, Jafoa Uganda, National Federation of Women Farmers and Appropriate Technology in Nepal, Trilite Foundation in Malawi, the Soweto CSI Council in South Africa, Gemma Skaters Youth Development Program, Village Synergy in Uganda, the Global Unity Business Group Humanitarian Enterprise, UnityNet International, the Global Sustainable and Regenerative Development Corporation that we are building, together with the organizations that support and promote this IGU Summit, including the 5 Points Youth Foundation, the Ed Food Foundation, Future Lift Foundation, and Cycle of Success. So I do want to mention we are planning to do at least 2 more tea diplomacy events this year, including a second one on Saturday, May 21st on International Tea Day. This is also World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, which celebrates not only the richness of the world's cultures, but also the essential role of intercultural dialogue for achieving peace and sustainable development. So our next Tea Diplomacy Initiative event, we will try to partner with the UnityNet Culture and Diversity members, supporting the Global Unity Network plans to establish unique and culturally relevant local Unity Garden infrastructure projects that reflect the local cultures of each country, city, community, or eco-village. In the third Tea Diplomacy event will be Saturday, June 18th, Sustainable Gastronomy Day, where we potentially want to partner with as well the Plant-Based Climate Smart Food Network, the South Markham Food Security Network, and the Virtual Urban Food and Farming Network, or the Urban Farming Network as well. What I want to mention are all of the upcoming events that we have, including the Abraham Project, the collaborative event we'd like to do in 2022 are related to the activities of the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network and the Unity Gardens Network, the Unity Eco Village Network, the Unity Biodiversity Network, and this globally coordinated Abraham Project, Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for Global Cooperation, delivered locally in multiple local communities by the members of the Global Unity Network on World Environment Day, June 5th, which is a Sunday, in a little over or under 2 months now, to allow us to begin establishing the global network of local INAB collaboratives, these interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives that will lead the way to the local level implementation of the globally coordinated events that we plan to do during the rest of the year. So again, the important launch event will be followed by a Bubble Fun Festival, a globally coordinated Bubble Fun Festival event designed to allow youth and families to have fun while learning about the properties of bubbles, how they use bubbles, potentially allowing humanity to more easily adapt, perhaps even to thrive in a warming and changing global climate, especially in the areas of the world where the impacts of global warming, climate change will be felt the most severely, including here in Canada, especially in the north, mountainous areas, in places like Sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia and South Asia. Some possible dates for this globally coordinated Community Bubble Fun Festival. August 9th is the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, also the International Day of Solidarity with the people struggling, or with the struggle of women in South Africa and Namibia, National Women's Day, along with potentially August 12th, International Youth Day, or August 19th, World Humanitarian Day. Actually, potentially opening it up to have one of these Bubble Fun Festivals on any date between August 9th and August 19th, which is actually an 11-day window. So the other key event that we'd like to take place from Global Cooperation Day, October 4th, through to World Food Day, October 16th, includes the third event, the Ubuntu Summit, a virtual event on October 4th. We did this last year. This day is also the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi and the Blessing the Animals Day, which are both celebrated by the Catholic faith communities. The fourth event, globally coordinated Climate Smart Youth Forum event, designed to allow youth and families from around the world to learn about and discuss the various regenerative climate smart agriculture and food growing solutions that support achieving SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and local circular regenerative economies, along with learning about the Climate Smart Food Program and all the various components of the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals and the smart virtual infrastructure, the Unity Gardens and the Interchange for Peace that will allow local community INAB collaboratives to gain access to all of the learning programs, that information, the education, the training, and the related support programs, including financial support systems that we have been promoting through this global Unity network. That will allow local community members and families to implement these local regenerative, climate smart, humanitarian infrastructure and enterprise solutions in the context of their own neighborhoods and communities, wherever they may live in the world. Where the primary host for the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum 2022 event is intended to be Yali International in Nigeria, who will be working in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria, along with UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, and as many of the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network as possible, who may wish to contribute. Yali International is divided into two arms, Youth Education and Leadership Initiative. Yali International is managed by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Amadou Wande Amadou from UnityNet Nigeria. And finally, an optional event this year. We're still in the process of establishing the INAB collaboratives and the local teams, but the globally coordinated community tree planting event designed to establish 3D polyculture food forests in local communities around the world, done in all the local communities where any local global Unity Network INAB collaborative has been established, and where the members of the local community partnerships wish to establish Victory Forest Unity Gardens designed for delivering the various global Unity learning programs, such as the Tukitana EV Women Empowerment Program or the Global Unity 4K Club Humanitarian Entrepreneurship Learning Programs, especially for educating young people, their families, and other community members about the various ways of achieving food and nutrition security goals at the local level, while also hopefully implementing so many of the other global goals, such as SDG 13 Climate Action, SDG 15 Life on Land Goals or Biodiversity Action, SDG 5 Goals, Gender Equality Action, SDG 6 Goals, Clean Water Action, SDG 7 Goals, Clean Energy Action, SDG 16 Goals, Peace Actions, SDG 1 Goals, No Poverty Actions, through their local community enterprises that also aim to leave no one behind. So the globally coordinated community Victory Forest Tree Unity Garden tree planting event could potentially be done during the proposed Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which will likely also include a hybrid in-person and virtual conference event. So this comes to the conclusion of our opening segment. I have not had a chance to see if our guest speaker, Adolf Alfred, is with us. Did anybody notice if he has come on the line? So it looks like we do not have our guest speaker with us. Is this correct? Okay. Who do we have on the line? I'm hearing a sound. Apologies. Just seeing who is on the line at this moment. See Gemma and Lisa Anise and Prophet and Andrew and Eric on the line with us. But we unfortunately do not have our guest speaker. Let me just check for a second, see if there is a message from him somewhere on WhatsApp. I did remind him yesterday. Let's see, he does say something this morning at 2:30 a.m. I am faced with the challenge of electricity due to heavy rainfall. It will be difficult due to the use of technological equipment, no electricity. Therefore, I am going to present by using phone without PowerPoint. Or without phone. Unfortunately, we have another situation where we have no possibility of having our presenter today. So what would people like? Would we like to have an open conversation or continue with my presentation? I see Prophet has her hand up, so I think it sounds like open conversation.
At some point, I might take that personal. No, I wanted to ask you because I'm listening each week and trying to learn a bit more. And so I wanted to, whether it's today or maybe some other time, it's better just to know more about the entrepreneurial structure. That's something that I wanted to start working on with some people, but can I understand it better how it works within this network?
Well, we are all entrepreneurs. Essentially, we are learning. We are learning from each other. We are teaching each other, and we are supporting each other. The concept of a humanitarian entrepreneur, the meaning of that is any entrepreneur who aligns their enterprise, their business, with helping to achieve the global goals, essentially the sustainable development goals. So that is essentially the definition of a humanitarian entrepreneur. So we want to teach, especially young people, everybody, about what that entails, what needs to be done, what does a humanitarian entrepreneur need to do, and essentially it is align their business to the sustainable development goals. So as I think Andrew says every week, familiarize yourself with the terminology, familiarize yourself with the goals, and familiarize yourself with the targets. And as you establish your business, as you run your business, measure your progress toward the implementation of those goals in all 17 sectors and those commitments, and report on that to the rest of the members of the network. Say this, look, I am a humanitarian entrepreneur. I do this business. This is the business I do. In doing my business, I'm helping to achieve SDG X, Y, and Z, and goal X, Y, Z, A, B, and C within those goals. So you can now self-report how your enterprise is helping to achieve the global goals. So of course there are the UN Global Compact members, all these corporations, and small businesses as well as business organizations, those thousands, tens of thousands of members of the UN Global Compact who have pledged to report on the progress they're making. So we want our small enterprises as well to familiarize themselves and to call themselves humanitarian enterprises and entrepreneurs. So this is that concept of humanitarian entrepreneurship, is we want to help to implement the global goals through our enterprise, our business in the local communities. So we're encouraging people to become humanitarian entrepreneurs by establishing a program of these Unity Gardens as examples of humanitarian enterprises that can be established in our own local communities, essentially. So teaching the generation how we can implement the goals through business.
Okay, so just a little clarification, Mike. So there's the local communities, but I'm hearing a couple of things. So the enterprises, so I have a humanitarian business product or whatever, but is it only for my local community, or can it be a part of an international?
Of course, it could be, I mean, if McDonald's, for instance, decided to join the UN Global Compact, and they are a multinational corporation, and there are many multinational corporations who are members of the UN Global Compact, as long as they make that pledge and they actually report on their implementation, and they uphold those 10 principles of the UN Global Compact and report on that, we can call them a humanitarian enterprise. But we are supporting the local as we move forward. We want to localize. So we want every business, every organization, essentially, including the nonprofits, including those community organizations, to understand what are the goals, what are the targets, and work toward them collectively and in partnership with each other to support each other.
And the UN Compact, see, I'm finding that everything is about language. So I appreciate what you put in the chat. I'm on my phone at my grandson's school, so I'm trying to copy everything. So I hope that everything from the chat comes out or something.
You can save the chat. Just go to the three dots.
That's only on my computer. I can't do that on my. I don't have three dots on my phone, but
Okay.
I'm cutting and pasting as you talk. But UN Compact, that's something that would be what I would need to understand better, correct?
Well, the global goals, the UN Global Compact are the members, the corporate members, and the other types of members. There's many categories of membership in UN Global Compact, but they have essentially, as businesses, they have pledged to help to implement those global goals.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
So Juliet has her hand up.
Yes, hi, good evening. I'm the last person to try and talk. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm using a different laptop.
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
All right, thank you. Now my question is, and I think I've meant to ask this for a while, is that at a country chapter level, because we have the global UnityNet, and then you have the continental network, and then you have the country chapters. At the country chapters, how do we ensure alignment with the global unity network objectives and vision? I know that there's a sense that you are always at the global level, you are asked not to interfere. Yet, if at the global level you are the vision bearers, isn't it critical that you should be able to have an overview? And I'm saying overview meaning broadly without being pedantic and looking at every little detail, an overview that these objectives are actually incorporated both at a country level and a continental level. I'm not saying that it's not done, but I feel that the bigger the organization gets, the more we grow, it's always easy to move away from what has brought us together. So like in any organization where you go away to realign, to make sure that everyone is still in line with the major pillars. So are we doing that, or would we? I'm actually recommending that should actually happen, so that what happens, because what happens at the community level is informed by chapter level. We should be informed by continental and global. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sure I'm clear.
Well, the international level, so that's myself, that's actually also Carlos, and that's more team members here in Toronto right now. So we are establishing the UnityNet International, and our relationship will be with the continental chapter level. So we will establish a number of continental chapters. So UnityNet African Diaspora is the first, and it has been essentially established. So that is the work that Carlos has been doing. So our partnership, myself and Carlos, started the entire network together. We've been bringing on other members into the network, both from across Canada and around the world, of course, and building these chapters. But we have the continental UnityNet Africa Diaspora. That is sort of the relationship with the international. And so the continental secretariat, essentially, we will have a relationship with. We are informed by them on the progress of the country chapters. And those country chapters would have the responsibility to help establish the local chapters, those AHIABGA. Actually, the way we're doing it here in Canada, because we are such an enormous country, and it might be done the same way in Africa as well, is create these regional chapters. So we have for here in Toronto area, we have the Greater Toronto chapter. So because there are 25 municipalities, so rather than having one giant country chapter, we have regional chapters around each major city, because we are a very urban country, actually. And so most people live around the urban centers, and that's where it's easier, because what we want to do is establish an INAB collaborative in every community that has a mayor, or in the case of Canada, or some sort of tribal leader in the case of Indigenous communities. So perhaps, I don't know if that answered everything.
Structurally, yes, it does. I think I've been with the organization long enough to say that Dr. Carlos has done an astounding job, and he continues to do so. Yet I feel that there still needs to be that synergy, direct synergy between international, continental, and for this and country level. Yeah, so without it coming across as if you are interfering at international level, but that dialogue and that communication, because the digital world doesn't stop us from having conversations like this. I mean, like now we have 11 people on the line, and I bet you only about 3 of us are from the African continent chapter, and we need to encourage, for instance, the attendance of these meetings, so that we're all speaking the same language. Because if we have 11 people here, it's all about buy-in and continuous buy-in and repetition and internalization of what we're all about. And I think that's what I'm saying, that at a value and a practical level, we need to encourage people to attend this session. I found that for me, it's helped me to look at how I engineer the programs that I do on the ground, and how I align them with what is happening within the continent and also within global UnityNet, while we are still establishing ourselves as a chapter, as a country chapter.
Yeah, and it is a big challenge, obviously, to reach sort of a critical mass of people that are actually understanding what we're trying to do. This is going to be a long process. It's understood that what we're building is a unique network that's never been done before, and we're building something that people don't really understand unless they attend these sessions. And so until we are able to basically condense what I've been presenting down to sound bites, almost commercials, the 30-second commercial almost, that people can really not have to spend their time on a call like this. It's going to be, until we have media people that really can condense those messages really down so people can understand it, boom, 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 and can really align their thinking, which is part of the reason why I think having.
That's what my company does, right? So I'm available for a contract. I can do it.
Yeah, well, we once we have a budget in place and we are fully better established, because we're at this point right now where we're still even just in the negotiation stage with UnityNet Africa Diaspora, which of course is embedded within the global Unity Network, the international. So we have these sort of reciprocal relationships, because we're building all the networks at once, all the way from international to continental to country. But this is a work in progress. It's been not quite a year since we began building this network, and so we're just moving this forward bit by bit. But we're hoping that at some point, hopefully even by the end of this year, we'll have our virtual collaborative network begin to take form, and us moving into spaces where I think more people can be exposed to this message. So Lisa, I'm seeing Lisa's hands up.
Thank you.
Get my screen on. Thank you very much. Yeah, there was an earlier question about the structure of how all this was going to be run. Basically, the UN Compact is modeled very similarly to the community programming that takes place in non-governmental organizations pretty much around the world. This model is also used by hospitals and other institutions. And ultimately, any group that winds up including everybody, especially those that take funds from a variety of sources, both common, business, and governmental. And it all starts with the community. That's the people on the ground. They start by getting facilitating partners. That's people who give instruction on how to set up programs that they want. As these communities find that others are getting this same benefit, they start to join together, talk about their problems. And a series of communities that are joined in this manner become an association. An association generally has about the same wants and needs throughout, and they would pass that further up the line to several associations that come together in a regional partnership. Beyond that, you start getting closer to national vendor partner, where you provide a service that is incredibly important to governmental agencies whose job it is to help us do what we're doing. And then of course there's a continental level, and what we're trying to do worldwide, where this model repeats and repeats and repeats over again. But what we're starting right now is trying to give some vision of the future, while at the same time starting at that very broadest level of the pyramid of community structure that we're building. And that broad level is the community itself. So incredible importance. A lot of people aren't quite sure how it's going to work, but it's been working for around 140 years in many other places. So pretty much tried and true.
Thank you, Lisa, for that good explanation from somebody that has been embedded in that. So Patrick, I am also seeing your hand up.
Oh, thank you. Actually, the question I wanted to ask has been actually already answered. My sister Juliet asked more about that, but the answer was about to know if UnityNet International and a global, actually global unity business, I mean what we call it, global unity business. If these two are the one, if these two are, if either they are combined or maybe they're operating like a one entity now. I don't know if they are two different things. That's the question I wanted to ask.
So they are two different things. So the Global Unity Business Group, this UnityNet International, is a corporation that's going to be established here in Canada. We're actually in the middle of the incorporation process right now, to essentially help to what we're talking about actually is to help to build the network on all continents. So these continental networks, it starts with Africa because Africa is already established, and the African network, the continental networks are nonprofit organizations. For instance, in Africa, it is a nonprofit organization that's established in Uganda. So the idea is that what we are going to do is build the infrastructure for delivering the education and training. So not in terms of the physical infrastructure, because the physical Unity Gardens are humanitarian enterprises that are being built in the local communities by the local community humanitarian entrepreneurs. But all of those Unity Garden infrastructure, those actual places in the community, which will be built by the entrepreneurs in those local communities, are then going to be connected through this Interchange for Peace, the virtual collaborative network, so that we can have every one of these Unity Gardens around the world that are established in the local communities, communicating with each other, learning from each other, sharing with each other, both from the point of view of the actual infrastructure, the regenerative infrastructure, this what we call regenerative climate smart infrastructure, but also in terms of sharing culturally their experiences and all of the cultural aspects, which can be done again through the Interchange for Peace. But then the other side of the business, not just building the network and providing the infrastructure for collaboration and exchange, but also to establish the financial pipelines for the financing the local community infrastructure and businesses itself. So that's another aspect of the international team that the continental or country chapters are not doing. So we are working, we do have a UnityNet finance team, small team, 2 people, 1 person here in Canada, 1 person in the United States in Washington, DC area, who are working together to help build this financial system. So the UnityNet finance group, so that local communities, so if we can develop a template for finance that where we would basically have pre-approved types of infrastructure that we know will be beneficial to the community in terms of its social economic benefits to the community, the ESG benefits, right? So the environmental, social, and governance. So ESG is the terminology they use now to describe the benefits of businesses. So as long as those communities are able to create a business plan for these types of infrastructure. So again, coming back to the 5 types of infrastructure for establishing a Unity Garden, we'll set up the pipeline that will allow them to just basically submit a proposal to build a Unity Garden, and that will be almost immediately or very quickly financed just through simple due diligence, as long as we are confident that they're able to implement. And they have that INAB collaborative that's been established already. And there are hopefully some young humanitarian entrepreneurs that have been identified in the local community who say, yes, we want to start this local community humanitarian enterprise Unity Garden in our community. We should hopefully, I don't know exactly how long it'll take, but have that finance available for them to kickstart that business. So that is another function of the international team that we're putting together. So there's a number of components, of course, to the business, but it's going beyond just the events and the community engagement and building the INAB collaboratives now to establishing this financial system that will, again, hopefully be universal across any communities around the world, whether in Africa or Asia or anywhere else. So I hope that answered your question, Patrick.
Yes, it's clear answered. It's clear answered. Thank you so much.
So these are ongoing conversations that I'm having right now, for instance, with our UnityNet international team, Mark in particular, but as we have conversations here, as we build, as Carlos as well is fully being informed of all of these structures that we are going to build into the because essentially we are on a mission to establish, as I changed, you may have noticed I changed some of the wording in the opening. Essentially, the purpose of the UnityNet International, what we call the Global Unity Business Group, and the network. So the network and the business are almost one and the same. But the idea is that we want to establish a global regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So that is essentially what we're trying to achieve. Is a regenerative economy. We've talked before about what's next after the Sustainable Development Goals. What's next after 2030? What do we call that next phase of global goals? So we went from the Millennium Development Goals in 2000 to 2015 Sustainable Development Goals until 2030. That's less than 8 years away. What's post 2030? We would like to help to establish today, or as soon as possible, the start to demonstrate the solutions for achieving a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. It's a huge challenge, but I believe it's possible through the network as we're building it, as long as we have the finance. Because right now, if you looked at just the recent COP summit in UK, just this past December, $130 trillion has been pledged to implement essentially the climate goals and the global goals. The climate goal being SDG 13, and so that climate action is paramount to being able to finance projects so this financing. So that was basically negotiated by the former Bank of England and former Bank of Canada chairperson, who brought all of these corporations, governments, and everybody together, the foundations and whatnot, and they basically said, look, there's 130 trillion available. We would like some of that to be channeled through UnityNet International to our local community partners and businesses and infrastructure, so we can build this stuff for real. If we got 1% of that, it would be pretty big, actually already. 130 billion. How much good could we do in the world with 130, with 1% of that, even 0.1% of that, even 0.01% of that is a large chunk of money. Juliet?
Yeah, you just call my name the way that my mother used to call my name when I was in trouble.
Sorry.
And I'm actually raising my hand to support what you're saying, and to say I also would like to personally thank the Prince Andrew, the Internet Network, as the network that opens doors, because he's been quite instrumental in terms of pointing, though it's quite a lot, a few things on this platform and other platforms of opportunities that humanitarian entrepreneurs should use, and I think that is quite helpful. And to talk about this issue of trillions, I think the Global Unity Network business, the business side of it, might, and unless we're doing it already, might have to take a more direct approach in dealing with individual entrepreneurs, humanitarian entrepreneurs. I mean, I was talking to the guys in Green currently, and I've just realized that they're actually doing some work similar to what we're doing, and some of that work could easily be turned into an enterprise. They have land, they have other things, and I think somehow directly Global Unity Network business could possibly in the next term coming look at what individuals are doing and saying, okay, this is what you're doing through the Global Unity Network business. This is how you could access this. In that way, you are building the enterprises, humanitarian enterprises, whilst you're building the global unity business at the same time. You know, the whole structure in terms of fees and everything have to be applicable, like any consulting firm, you know. So I think we might have to be direct, because there's quite a lot of us on these platforms who are doing various things that could actually have access to some of that money, but through the guidance and through the global unity business. And I find that not everyone knows how and where to start. So we might conscientiously want to look at that.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, we're feeling our way forward. Again, this has really never been done this way, I think. So we are. I had a conversation, actually, a really good conversation yesterday, with a gentleman in Norway that I've known for many years. Probably Andrew knows this gentleman as well. He's part of the PodNet co-op. And so he didn't really understand and know what we were doing, or what I was doing recently. I haven't been talking to him for a couple of years, and I explained similar things to him as I just explained here. And he said, "Absolutely, this is so essential, and I want to work. I want to talk with you, and I want to have a conversation, and let's make this happen." So it's another channel, and as we identify certain, I guess you could even say them solution providers, these entrepreneurs. His focus, of course, is sort of the developed world and sort of Europe and people that can afford to buy what he's offering. Whereas we're obviously looking at channeling finance to the communities that are being most left behind, which is a different business model, because it's much more focused on the social aspects and the environmental aspects, rather than just as a financial return on investment. So there are within the ESG framework these social return on investments that need to be accounted for, and those are accounted for through measurement, as you measure progress in achieving those global goals, those SDGs, where the measurement of progress toward the implementation is not just about financial. Obviously, it's because all of these goals are needing to be reached. So are there any other comments or questions or whatnot? I see it's 12:30 at my end. That means we started at 11. It's been about an hour and a half. We could perhaps end here for today, not make it too long. If there are no additional questions or comments, I think it makes sense that we could finish tad earlier today.
Well, Lloyd, I just want to say I'm really impressed with the presentation that you put forward. You've made a number of things so clear that I really want to share this with a number of the people in my network that are on the professional end as facilitators and heads of their own communities. So yeah, this particular platform looks like an excellent place for all of us to meet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, these are, we try to build our network essentially through these interactive events. Obviously, we are now having more events every week. Well, we have Prophet on the line. She has her Tuesday events. We have Irwan having his Wednesday events. We may have Monday events and Friday events all coming up, where we're going to have these throughout the week. We don't want to take too much of everybody's time. We all have things to do as well. But
Lloyd,
we're hopefully shortening our message each time as well.
Yeah, this is really brief. I just want to say with the entrepreneurship in terms of like some of the rural areas and areas where poverty is high, we know that that's the case, yet we don't want to rule out the fact that there may be some entrepreneur models that work. I know when someone shared with me, I said, I can't go and buy gold bullion and all that. And somebody came up with some idea where you could actually have chips of gold. show how to buy silver. So there are different things in terms of models that it's possible to come up with something that someone has very little to start with, that they can actually enter and then pick a market that allows them to grow faster than they would have. But that doesn't necessarily mean they can't enter it. It's my point. So that's all I wanted. Thanks for a great meeting.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Prophet. And we will continue these conversations both by Zoom as we do here, as well as over especially the WhatsApp chat. And as we build this, I'm here with Stephanie as well. So Stephanie is a core member, so she's informed. Her mindset informs much of what we're doing as well, because she's critical in terms of the learning network. So we want to make sure that we're evolving in a way that that ensures that the mental health and wellness of our children. So Prophet, yourself, and Stephanie, and Lisa, Anis, and others who are involved, especially in the health and well-being, as well as Gemma, of course, in the culture and arts. We are really promoting those as ways for us to move in this better way.
Lloyd, I see Mohammed's hands raised. I'm not sure if we got to him yet or not.
Mohammed, I guess he just came on the line recently. He'd like to say a few things.
Hello, good day, everyone.
Go ahead, Mohammed.
Actually, I came in late. I don't know whether the time has been changed, because what I understood formally was 16 hours GMT, and I came in 5 minutes past 16 hours GMT, and I met already presentation gone far. I don't know whether the time has been changed for me actually to meet up with the correct time next time.
Well, and about 3 weeks ago, here in the United States, we had a shift from what's called I forgot what the previous name was now, but we had a 1 hour
daylight savings and non-daylight savings.
we had a 1 hour shift in our time zones, but the United States has decided to keep this time zone. So the short answer is that yes, we have recently changed the time zone, but we will have this the time, or this will be the same. The meetings will be held at the same time.
We'll never change again.
Exactly. but 1 hour earlier, I guess, then for you and for us. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think there's another issue, I believe, and I actually found it out recently when I was looking at GMT. GMT in Africa is different than GMT in England, apparently.
Really?
1 hour different. Because I believe England still goes through the daylight saving time as well.
Oh.
So whereas Sierra Leone, where I'm normally reporting GMT Sierra Leone, but if you look up GMT on the world clock, and it shows you the UK time, that's 1 hour different.
Wow. That's okay. Well, we'll have to standardize our time. We'll let everyone else align themselves with our time. How about that, Lloyd?
Yeah, well, that's why actually I align with Pacific time now. I just say plus 3 hours from Pacific time because we align with our host.
And Mohammed, I guess the idea for you then is just to find Los Angeles, because the United States has various time zones. So you'd have to align where you are with Los Angeles time. We're in the Pacific time zone.
Okay, Mr. Andrew, I got it. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so I guess we can finish. It is now 12:35. Thank you all for coming on again one more time for the IGU Summit. Again, I will be hopefully publishing fairly soon the next Tea Diplomacy Initiative event. Working on it now. We'll ideally have many more partners join us for the next event next month. So we will bring in so many more members, hopefully, of that. I'm just afraid that we might not be able to recognize the logos if we get too many. You're muted, Andrew. Andrew, you're muted. You're
We
talking.
can always add just another page for the logos, Lloyd. We can grow. We don't have to limit ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, of course, but it might be spending 10 minutes just running down the list.
Then we can put it at the end for credits.
Oops, you're muted by accident again.
Sorry, I'm saying that perhaps then we can end it as credits, because everyone always looks at credits, who does what. So maybe we can begin having a credits page too, just a thought.
Actually, I don't know if that's true. If at the end of a movie, a lot of people walk out. You know, the credits are rolling, they're out of their seat, they're out of the room.
Okay, all right, Lloyd. I'll leave it up to you. I'm just here to host. I love it.
That's why we'll do that.
One of the things
That's-
about that they've been doing with the Avengers is they do the credits, and after the credits, they do a last little clip that nobody wants to miss. So sorry about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's absolutely a great thing. You have the outtakes at the end, the bloopers at the end.
But see, we could go a step further and do the credits first, so you're
I love
stuck.
it. Yes, yes.
But you know,
Yes, yes, and yes.
it really is important and testament making if we do have 2 and 3 pages, because that's SDG 17.
Exactly.
Well,
That's collaborating and coming together. So if
This
we
was
show
our purpose.
this is it.
I love it, Stephanie. Yes, yes, and yes.
Yes, yes, and yes, Stephanie.
Okay, how about letting our videos say our goodbyes if everyone's
Thanks,
available?
everybody.
All right, thank
Easter
you.
to those who are celebrating Easter, by the way.
So,
Happy Easter.
Easter, oh, happy
Those who are
Easter.
celebrating.
Yeah, happy Easter, yeah.
Yeah.
Those who are
Good Friday.
celebrating this weekend. Yes. Okay.
Happy
goodbye.
11th. All right,
Thank
we're out of
you.
here.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, bye-bye,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Lloyd.
Bye.
Thanks, Andrew.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.